Hey everyone, it's Kenya Kelly, founder of You, Me, and Jesus. We are live here tonight for You, Me, and Jesus. We're here every single Sunday actually at 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern time. We are going on our third year of doing this. Well, sort of, because we're only in March, but we've been doing it since November of 2016. And so it's been an amazing time on You, Me, and Jesus. We have lots of different guests. We've always entertained and interviewed. And so if you guys ever want to go back and listen to some of those, you can always look at our Facebook page, or you can go to our brand new YouTube channel. We're in the process of uploading all those different videos from the last 2 years on our YouTube channel called You, Me, and Jesus. Now, if this is your first time catching me on this platform, go ahead and type hashtag new. If you have been here before, I want you to type hashtag Jesus. And if you think somebody would benefit from this conversation, please feel free to share it. I'm going to go ahead and share this really quickly. If you guys didn't know, I have a podcast that's called You, Me, and Jesus. And today I did a podcast conversation, intimate conversation there. If you guys can go subscribe, download, and rate and review, that would be absolutely awesome. That way you can actually hear me when you're driving or whatever. So in case you guys really enjoy listening to things versus watching videos, you can listen to the podcast. So hang on just 1 second. I am sharing this, okay? I'm going to share it onto the You, Me, and Jesus Facebook page, and then we're going to go ahead and get into tonight's conversation, all right? 1 second. All right. You, me, and Jesus. There we go. All right. So today we are talking about racism in America. Now, I say America because I'm an American and I live in America. But this, what I want to share applies to no matter where you live. Okay. So if you guys are here, everybody just say hi. I just want to know who's here watching with me. But I'll share. Here's my disclaimer. My disclaimer is I may say some things that make you feel uncomfortable. I may say some things that you may not agree with, and I'm perfectly okay with that, okay? I'm okay with, sharing my opinion because it's basically my opinion, right? But the intention of this conversation is to enlighten you guys in some ways of, some of the things that some of us think, that we feel, but also how to process the thought of the word racism in America. Now, I'll tell you all this: if you are someone and you feel like that people in America are racist towards you, there's going to be times in this conversation where you're like, yeah, totally, I agree with you. And there's going to be times when you don't agree with me, okay? And I'm okay with that. But at the end of this entire conversation, my number one goal is I want you to think, okay? I want you to think for yourself. So if you're someone and you're always being accused of being racist, then in this conversation, you're going to hear some things that are going to make you feel uncomfortable. You're going to hear some things that you don't agree with, and I'm okay with that. But what I want you to do is I want you to think. I am an avid believer of think. Right? I know I grew up, my mama said this, my dad said this, my pastor said this, and TV said this. But at the end of the day, I am me. And I have chosen over the years to think for myself. Okay? And so I want you to think. Okay? I want you to think. All right? So on the podcast, if you guys have not listened yet, I was talking about how when let's just kind of break it into what I said on the podcast. When you're born into a household of people, right? These people have their thoughts, they have their belief, they have their lenses, right? So the people that raised you have a lens, right? There's a way that they see the world, right? I'm being funny, but it's kind of like when you grow up in a household and you hear, oh, that's good food, right? Oh, this is good food. This is good this. Well, good is relative to the person that is digesting the food, right? Based upon, let's just say, like macaroni and cheese. Macaroni and cheese to you may be, oh, that is so good if it has this in it, right? But to this person over here, based off of their lens and their experience, and what is good macaroni and cheese to them may not be the same. It doesn't mean that their macaroni is bad and yours is good. It just means that what happens for you, what you think is the truth for you. Does that make sense? Whatever your experience is and whatever your belief is, that is the truth for you. Okay? And so I want to preface this with saying that you have your lens, you have your view of the world based off of how you were raised, what your experiences have been. Okay? So somebody type that in the comments. Your lenses, your experience has shaped your world. Okay? All right. So for me, growing up, I was always taught that if my hair looks like this, then it's bad. Okay? Growing up, I was taught that if my hair looks like this, then it's bad. Why is that? Because however my mom and her mom and her mom and her mom and all of them were raised, they were taught that hair looking like this was bad hair. It was nappy hair. Now, that was true for my household. That was true for my mom and all of them. But it doesn't make it truth, right? Truth. That was true for our lenses, for our experience. But it doesn't make it the truth, like the truth. The truth is there is no good or bad hair. But because in our household we were taught this was bad, we did everything we could to not have our hair look like this. Okay, we made it straight. All right. So if let's just say you were raised in a household and you were taught that to have extra weight, right? To have fuller hips, bigger bottom, and all those types of things, that was unhealthy, that was fat, and that was bad. If that was how you were raised, if that was your household and what you've learned, and your mom and your dad and all them, then the moment you start filling out and you start having some extra hips and bottom and all that, your lens has told you you are fat, right? Now that is true for you, your household, and your lens, but that doesn't make it truth. Right? It doesn't make it truth. It means it was true for you. Is everybody following me? If y'all are following me, say, I'm following you. Okay, so let's get into racism, right? So this conversation is not me coming saying white people are all racist. This is not what this conversation is about. This conversation is designed to ask you to think, okay? Now, I am the youngest of 4 girls. I'm the brown one of the entire family. I thought I was adopted. Okay. We have a different dad. My dad's light skinned. My mom is light skinned. All my sisters are light skinned. None of them have all the hips and all the extra stuff that y'all see me having. They don't have all that, right? I thought I was adopted. But I also thought at times that they were better than me, that they were prettier than me, right? And all these different things, because no one in my house had the things that I had, right? And because I was basing beauty off of what I saw on television, because they didn't have this and all the stuff that I have, I felt like I was super ugly for the longest time. Unless somebody came along and began to tell me as a child that you're beautiful and then I didn't like it, right? I didn't like being brown skinned because everybody in my house was light skinned, and I felt like the light skinned girls got better treatment. The light skinned girls got the boys or whatever. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, let's just say that you are, okay, let's just kind of get into the conversation. All right. I feel like that, and just hear me, y'all don't argue yet. I feel like racism is a term that some people just throw around and give it to a whole group of people. Y'all racist. All y'all are racist, right? Like all police are bad. Like all black people are. Like all Muslims are. Like all white people are. right? One of the things I always tell people is that you don't know all of anybody, right? You only know these many people. You don't know all of anybody. Even if you watched TV every day, you don't know all. And so you can't say that all people are anything. All groups are anything, right? And so the truth is there are some crazy things that are going on in America. Some crazy things that are going on in the world, but we'll just talk about America today. You know, there are situations where you've got a people group, right? And there are people that are challenging a people group. They are trying to kill them. They're saying, get out of our country. They're saying, you can't be here. They're saying, you're going straight to hell. You are the Antichrist, right? There are people that are being oppressed, right? Like I shared an example on the podcast that 9/11, I was sitting down and I was curling my hair and I saw the last plane hit the tower and I was like, oh my God, what is going on? And people are crying, going crazy in the dorms. I went to University of Louisville, and at one point in time, University of Louisville sent out this email. And they sent out this email because apparently, this is just me giving a blanket statement, apparently that a people group was responsible for what happened on 9/11, right? Now, I'm not saying they were not responsible, and I'm not saying that they are. I don't know what the truth is, Truth. I know what we believe is true, but I don't know what the actual truth is. And so they were saying that people that were from like the Middle East and things of that nature, that they were terrorists, right? And this people group looked like X, Y, and Z. Right? And so what happened was in those moments, and since then, there has been oppression to people that look like A, B, and C. Now, is it true that some of the people that were on the planes that took the planes down looked like X, Y, and Z, and their names were A, B, C? Absolutely. But is it true that all people that look like them, have names like them, are terrorists? That's not true. You can't say that because they look like them, that they are them. You just can't say that, right? And I remember when University of Louisville sent out an email, like trying to get people to calm down because there was a young girl who was wearing a hijab on campus and she was running for her life. People were trying to kill her on campus. They were throwing rocks at her. Why? Because the lens that people were viewing it from was from television. That all the people that were in the United States that looked like X, Y, and Z were terrorists. And so instead of people thinking for themselves and not assuming that this girl walking around carrying her books was gonna blow up the campus, instead of them thinking, they took a thought and held it captive of everybody that looks like A, B, and C is a terrorist, right? Y'all get what I'm saying? It's like, some of the things is, black men. If a black man is tall and he's crossing the street late at night, or he's listening to his music, or he's rapping, or he's doing something, whatever, that he's causing trouble, right? Now, that's not, everybody doesn't have that viewpoint, right? There are some people that feel like, okay, here is this black kid and he is doing this, this, and this, or he got shot by the police. And so he must have been doing something bad, right? Now, what lens is that? That is the lens of a person that all they have seen or heard or have been taught that men that do this, this, and this, black men that get shot by the police, that they deserve it, right? Because of some lens that a person is looking through, right? Just like some people may say, all police are bad, or F the police. Y'all remember that song? That, we can't trust them. They killing us out there. And the truth is that some black men are acting a fool. But you can't say all black men that are looking like this, and this, doing this are causing trouble, right? It is true that some police have killed black people, that have killed people unjustly, have killed white people unjustly, have killed men and women and children unjustly. It is true, but it's not the truth, Truth, that all police are bad. But if you're looking through the lens of people that you know have died and people that you have seen on TV when they get pulled over by the police, that this is happening, right? That becomes your lens. Does that make sense? That becomes your lens. Now, I'll tell you guys things that I'm even working out myself. I shared it on the podcast that I had a time about not even a year ago. I was driving home late at night from church. It was 11 o'clock at night. Somehow the road turned from lanes to one because there was a lot of construction. And I'm driving in my lane and this guy in a pickup truck comes along and I don't know what is going on with him. And he comes into my lane and literally hits my car, like moving my car so he can get in front. And at some point he realizes my car just got hit, right? So he parks his car and he's getting ready to get out. My lens came into play. It was, oh my God, it's 11 o'clock. Somebody's in a pickup truck. I may die tonight. Now, that is not the truth, right? What is true, that some people have gotten into a collision late at night with someone and they died, right? And so when this guy got out of the car and I saw him and he was a white man, I had this moment. I was like, is tonight my night? Is tonight my night? I turned down the music and I said, what am I going to do? I had seconds. Am I going to get out of the car? Am I going to express my anger? Am I going to call the police? What am I going to do in this moment? And in that moment it said, you do nothing. Don't call the police. Don't get out of your car. Don't argue with him. Because if he has a gun and he shoots you, you're going to be at fault. Or if you get out of the car and argue and he shoots you, you're going to be at fault. If you call the police and he claims something is wrong with you and the police shoot you, you're going to be at fault. That my lens kicked in. My lens is not truth. My lens is true that I was having this moment of fear, right? So what did I do? I rolled down my window, hands on the steering wheel. Why? Because there have been examples of people losing their lives, right? And so I just had my hands on the steering wheel and he said, what happened? And I said, you hit my car. And he's like, oh my God. And he's like wiping my side mirror like, it's okay, it's okay. Granted, I know that my car is messed up. And I'm just like, I got a decision to make. Either I am going to say something and risk the potential of this guy wilding out, or I can just go home and live my life. Guess what I did? I said, it's okay, no problem, go ahead. And I drove home and I have a scratch on my side mirror because I was afraid that this guy was going to shoot me. Do you hear what I'm saying? I was afraid that he was going to shoot me. And you may say, well, that is crazy. Why would you even think that? Because there have been examples of people in my life and examples of people I've seen on TV and whatever, where something went down and they lost their lives. That doesn't mean that every single time you get into an accident with someone or a white man approaches your car that he's going to kill you, right? But I had that moment of, oh my God. But guess what I had to do? I had to process, why do I feel like this? Why do I feel fear in an accident? Why did I feel afraid to call the police? Why did I feel afraid to get this guy's insurance? And it's because of the lens that I've walked under for so long, right? And I can't change that moment of what happened, but what I can do is the next time I have an accident, I can't assume that this person's going to do something to me, right? For example, and I'm going to talk about the other side, okay? So some of you guys, this is an uncomfortable conversation for you, but I'm going to talk to everybody, okay? I'm going to talk to everybody, all right? And I want you to hear me, okay? The whole purpose of this conversation is so you guys can think, all right? So I told you guys recently, I came home late at night one night, came into my apartment. Within seconds, somebody called security and they said that I was breaking into my apartment, right? And, and I was very upset. I was very disappointed and very hurt. I had moments of, I bet that was a white person. Now, I'm not racist. Listen to me. Don't get off. Listen to me. Right? And I had the moment of, I bet that person is white, assuming it because I'm black that I'm going into my apartment. Why would I assume that? Number one, because I know mostly everybody on my floor, right? And then number two, because there have been situations in the news where somebody came home to their apartment and somebody that didn't look like them, didn't recognize them, assumed that they were breaking into their apartment, right? But then I had to say to myself, okay, Kenya, the truth is you don't know who called the security. That's the truth. You don't know who it is. And you can't assume that just because somebody called security doesn't mean that that person was white, right? That person was being racist, right? But I still had that thing of a lens. And I am still processing, okay, God, how do I process this? How do I not assume that I can't trust the new neighbors on my floor, right? Because I know the other ones. I don't know some of the new ones. How I can't necessarily say all these people think that we are bad, right? So I have to process that, right? So what am I saying to you? What I'm saying to you is, as a black person, as a white person, Italian, Canadian, whatever you identify with, right? However you were raised, whatever your experiences have been has caused you to think and act in a way that may not be the truth. It may be true to you, TRUE, but it may not be the truth, right? I want you to ask yourself this question. Like, I want you to type me in the comments, whether you're live or on the replay. How many times have you experienced something? You saw something happen on television and you were like, I bet they are terrorists. I bet they were stealing something. I bet this, right? Right? It's like, I won't even give examples. How many times have you done that? That's you, and you've done that, and you say, yeah, they all do this, or they all do that. You've made a blanket statement or a blank assumption or boxing in a group of people based upon your experience, right? Not even having a conversation or having a real understanding of what's going on with the person, right? That's like whenever I hear about a shooting, right? Or if, let's just say a black person dies at the hands of a police officer, right? What I've seen is that typically, because of some of the oppression that has happened in the black community, that our African Americans will immediately typically jump to, they were killed unjustly, right? Now, there is a possibility that they were killed unjustly. There was also a possibility that they were killed through self-defense, right? And over the years, I have had to not form an opinion. I have had to see things that I see online and just either pray and just leave it alone, because otherwise I will form opinions and they could be completely wrong, right? Like, I'll give you an example. I don't know what is true. It's just an example that's in the media. Like, was it Jussie Smollett when everything went down and this is MAGA country and the noose and all that stuff, right? Immediately, it's a natural response to go, oh my God, I cannot believe that they did that to them. See, that's them Trump supporters and they do that, right? It's a natural response to assume that it's a Trump supporter because they said this is MAGA country and the hat, yada, yada, yada. And it's a natural response to think that they were white when he said that they were white, right? Now, when I heard it, I said, neutral. I have to be neutral. I have no idea what's going on and I don't have an opinion, but I can just pray, right? I don't have an opinion, but I can just pray. And when things kind of came out about what they're saying against him now, I'm just like, it makes me sad because here's a situation where it kind of made what's going on even worse, right? Like, it just made this, what's happening in our country, even worse versus making it better, right? So, okay, how do I transition. Okay, what I'm basically trying to say is that how you are, how you think, how you process is based off of your lens. I've had conversations with people over the last couple of months, and I'm sitting in these conversations going, this person has no idea how racist that they are, how prejudiced that they are because of how they were raised, how they think, and the lens that they think through, right? I have had to tell some of my black friends, you know you kind of racist, right? No, I'm not racist. I'm just down for my people. Yeah, I hear you. I hear that you are down for your people, but you can't be calling white people crackers. You can't be saying that all people that are from the Middle East are terrorists, right? You can't be saying that all Muslims are going to kill us, right? You can't do that to people. Like that's not okay. And some people will say, well, they do it to us. I don't care what they doing, right? Just because somebody acts a fool doesn't give you the right to act a fool. Does that make sense? But what we have to do is we have to go, okay, we have to do our own introspection, right? You know, I remember back in the day when I would call white people this, or I would call Hispanics this, because it was just what people said. And I got to the point where I said, well, I don't want nobody calling me a nigger, so I sure ain't gonna call nobody no cracker. I sure ain't gonna call nobody no, whatever those other names that are out there. Cause I'm like, that's just wrong, right? And you know, it's kind of like when people say, oh, rich people, they're just greedy. The rich get richer and the poor get poor. Even though that there is some truth to that, I don't think that all rich people are greedy. I don't think that all rich people are bad. I think that people are inherently good. You know, we're all made in the image of God. I think that we adopt some bad behaviors and bad characteristics, and then we begin to do things that are not, we shouldn't be doing. But I don't think that all people are bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just can't see myself doing that and boxing people in there. But here's one of the things that I want to share with y'all today. One of the things that I want to share is that you can't change the White House, right? You can't change the House and the Senate. You can't change your state in a sense. But what you can do is think for yourself, right? What you can do is say, okay, if I feel like I am misunderstood as a white person, and I want to be better understood by my black neighbor, or I'm black and I want my Russian neighbor or my white neighbor to understand us better, you have to open yourself up for the dialogue, okay? Listen to y'all. If y'all hear me, just say, I'm here, give me some hearts, do something. You have to open yourself up to the dialogue, which is the dialogue of uncomfortable conversations. It is the dialogue of hearing somebody's pain. It's the dialogue of hearing someone's experience. It doesn't mean that they are saying you are bad. It doesn't mean that what they're saying is the gospel, that it is truth, truth. It is saying what their experience has been and what has been true for them. Right? So if you're black and you're like, I'm always misunderstood, they don't understand me, they think I'm this, this, and this. Well, at some point, you're going to have to allow people to get to know you. You're going to have to open up conversation. And let's just say with a white person, right? Like I've seen people get toe up on social media. I've seen people from high school get toe up on social media because they say things and you're just like, did you think about that before you said that? You know, like I had some times where there were people from high school and they said some stuff and I'm like, oof. And I've watched people drag them and I'm like, okay, I see what this person said, and that, I don't even know why that person would say that. And I see how people are dragging them, but how can I open up the conversation and the dialogue with this person? And I found myself just sending inbox messages. Hey, I saw what you said on social media, and I think what you're saying is this, but you're making that statement as a black person. Here is what I heard you say. And I think people say, well, how could you get that from what I just said? Well, people interpret what you say based off of their lens, their ears, their hearts, and their experiences, right? Like if you say, and it's just a random example, if you say to me, oh, I just had the best fried chicken ever, right? To me, what you're saying is the chicken was hot, you had some hot sauce, and you had some serious spices, and it was just good from the beginning to the end, right? But what you could be saying is that you had fried chicken and you had salt and pepper, right? Now, it doesn't mean that fried chicken was not good. It doesn't mean that was false. It means that what is good fried chicken is the chicken you had was great to you. That was your truth, right? And the fried chicken I have with the spices, that is true to me, right? And so until we cross together and taste what each other thinks is great fried chicken, then we can't relate to the other. Then we don't really understand why they think that that's good fried chicken and why I think it's good fried chicken. Does that make sense? That's like I always have the conversation about, when black women say, you can't touch my hair. Listen, here I have a lot of opinions about that, and I'll just share just a little bit. So as slaves, we were pretty much naked, put up on the chop block, and like they looked at us, touched the, all the things, and you basically bought as a piece of property, right? So today, right, there are some people that when you come up to them and say, can I touch your hair? That they are triggered back to that moment where, what, you think I'm a dog? You won't pet me? You won't pet my hair? Right? And so they're like, no, you can't touch my hair. And they're offended by the thought of you touching their hair. Whereas you may be saying, my hair is let's just say flat. My hair don't look like that. My hair don't feel like that. I don't even know what that feels like. It looks really fluffy. And I really want to know what that feels like. Can I touch your hair to see what that feels like, right? And so the person that is feeling like a dog gonna look at them and say, no, you can't touch my hair because you're not gonna pet me like a dog, right? But for me, when I encounter someone and they say, can I touch your hair? What I hear them saying is, it looks fluffy. I've never touched a black woman's hair before. I wonder what it feels like. I hear them saying, I am inquisitive. I don't have hair like yours, and I want to see what your hair is like, right? Now, granted, I could say no, but I feel like the way to have open dialogue with somebody and education is through education, right? And I'm not saying, oh, you got to walk around letting everybody touch on your hair. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that if you're in a place where you want to be better understood, then what has to happen is we have to get to a place of allowing ourselves to have the open dialogue of conversation, right? Like I've had conversations with friends that are Hispanic, and they're telling me about, here in Texas, people think that we're this and we're second-class citizens and yada, 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 right? But I don't know what it's like. I don't know what it's like as a Hispanic person to come into America. I have no idea what that is like, right? But instead of me being on the outside and not understanding this person and their culture, I choose to say, hey, so I don't really know what it's like. How do you feel? And why do you feel the way that you feel? You hear what I'm saying? Like I had a conversation with someone who came over from Canada and they were so angry about how long they were at customs. I mean, it was a long time, and they were so mad at border. It was so mad about all this stuff. And I was like, I don't understand why they are so mad, right? I'm like, did you come illegally or what? And so instead of me assuming that they were illegal or whatever, I said, So tell me about it. What happened? And they began to explain about what happened. And I was like, well, what's supposed to happen? Oh, it's supposed to be this, this, and this. Well, what was the cause of why they take so long? Well, they said it was because of this, and this. And so getting an understanding of them and how it works when you come in from a different country allowed me to have a softened heart towards them. It allowed me to have more of an understanding of why they feel how they feel about coming to America. You know what I mean? I mean, coming into the country, America. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what it's like to try to escape your country and to come into America. I don't know what that's like, right? I don't know what's happening in a person's country. I don't know why a person would risk their lives at the border and their kids. I don't understand it because I'm not in their situation, right? And so what I have learned to do is, instead of judging them and saying whatever kind of things about people that come into the country illegally or whatever, I just go, well, how do you feel? What do you think? How do you feel about that? And sometimes they say, well, I'm just trying to escape to help my family. And I say, okay, well, what's the proper way to do that? Like, are you doing it illegally? Well, yeah. I'm like, okay, so do you understand why there is some resistance? If you're doing this illegal, do you understand the resistance? And when most time they just get quiet and say, yeah, I understand. And I say, okay, I'm not saying I agree with this. I'm not saying I agree with this. But what I am saying is that let's just talk about it, because you're very upset. And I think you would be less upset if we just talk. Not because you're gonna agree with this side, but so we can just talk. You know what I'm saying? Like, the more of these conversations that we have, the better it gets. I'm not saying, oh, you're going to change all these people in the world by giving them a Pepsi. You know what I'm saying? Or by having one conversation. But I am saying is that my neighbors don't understand what it's like to be me unless I tell them who I am. Right? I've had conversations with my Canadian neighbors over here, Brazil and Colombia over here, Mexico over there. Where are they from? A bunch of other different places, right? And I've learned so much. I've learned so much about people and why they think what they think. I had a conversation with someone who's African that came over from Africa, and we were having this, conversation, and she said, "You're different than other Americans." And I was like, I don't know, what do you mean? She goes, well, I thought that you were going to be all about rap this and rap that and wearing all the tight clothes and all about bling this and bling that. Now, this is a person who looks just like me, except they're African, like from Africa, right? I was born in America, so I'm African American. And I said, what would cause this person to think that everybody is going to be like that? And she said, oh, well, the opinion that we have of Americans is what we see on television. And it's what for her, she said, it's what we see in rap videos. I said, oh, so y'all think that, well, some of y'all think that we are supposed to be like the image of the women you see on the rap videos? And she said, yeah. I said, okay. So her lens was skewed that I'm supposed to behave like what she's seen on TV. That I'm not supposed to be friendly. I'm not supposed to care about what's going on with her. And I couldn't be mad at her for that. That is what she has seen. If that's all a person sees, then that's what a person sees. And somebody will say, well, how are they seeing that? Like, I'm seeing this. Well, here's the thing. It's like social media. You only see on social media the people that you have friended and the pages you have liked. If you have not liked these pages over here, you're not seeing this stuff. You're only seeing what you want to see, right? So like on my social media pages, I'm not seeing all the fight videos. I'm not seeing people twerking. I'm not seeing a lot of stuff that I don't want to see, right? It doesn't mean that it's not available. It means I'm not seeing it because I'm not following it. So my lens, my view of the world looks like this. But it doesn't mean that's the whole world. It means that's the world that I'm experiencing, right? It's like cats. A lot of folks, when they come over, they go, are your cats crazy? Does your house stink? You got 3 cats. And I'm like, why do they think my house got to stink and that my house is crazy? Because they've seen people on TV with a ton of cats. House look crazy. They've been in folks' house whose cats were crazy and their houses smell like cats. So their lens is skewed of what my house would be like when they come in. Every single person that comes to my house says, if I didn't see your cats or the toys on the floor, I wouldn't know you had cats. And it's because my house don't stink, my cats aren't crazy, and I take care of business. You know what I'm saying? But I can't be mad if somebody feels this way about what my house is supposed to be like because I have cats. Does that make sense? So as a white person, as a black person, as a Hispanic person, Asian, African, whatever, if you feel like that there's a lot of racism going on in America, of which it is, you have to ask yourself, what are you going to do about it? One of the biggest and easiest things you can do is choose to think and choose to educate. Right? And I'm not talking about educating them so they know the deal. I'm talking about educating so you guys can get to know each other. I don't know what it's like to be Russian until I talked to my friend who's from Russia, right? I didn't know what it was like for someone who was Middle Eastern. This is going to sound funny, but this is what happened to me when I first moved here. When I first moved here, I lived in Sugar Land. And I didn't know all the different cultures that were going to live here. There's a huge Middle Eastern community in Sugar Land. My neighbor that lived directly across from me, they were from the Middle East. And every time I saw her, she was always wearing her traditional garments, right? Always, right? One day, she showed up to do something at my house, knocked on the door, and she was wearing jeans. I said, you're wearing jeans. And she said, huh? I said, I didn't know you could wear jeans. Right? Why? Because everything that I've seen on TV has said that women in the Middle East always dress like this. They can't show their curves. They can't this, and this, right? But that was my lens. That's not what was true. That's not the truth. Thank God that she wasn't offended and said, oh yeah, we can da 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 da. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know. You see what I'm saying? Does this make sense, y'all? Like, the point of this conversation is that you can't change the whole world, but you can allow people an opportunity to get to know you. You can step out of your comfort zone and decide to get to know other people and their world. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, especially as a Christian, it's like we want to get people saved. We want people to go to heaven, but we don't want to leave our bubble of what is comfortable and go into the world, right? We don't want to go and sit with people that aren't in church, right? You know, like I spend so much time with all types of people. You know, they used to come in here and they would curse. Now when they come in, ain't nobody cursing. They just like, and I don't ever say nothing. I don't say nothing, right? I just be me, right? But we've gotten to a place where we're just so comfortable just being us. You know what I'm saying? I had a conversation with one of my neighbors. We first started out and he would only share this and he wouldn't share much with anybody. And now it's to the point where he's telling me all of what's going on with his family, right? Because I didn't judge him. I didn't judge him by the fact that all type of stuff, you know what I'm saying? And we got to the point where he said, this is what's going on with my brother. My brother needs help. And I said, okay, are you okay with me praying? Absolutely, I'm okay with you praying. I said, okay, well, I'm going to pray. But a year ago, when I first met him, that I couldn't mention the word pray at all, right? But I've allowed him to get to know me and how I am without forcing Jesus on him. And he's allowed me to get to know him without holding back. Does that make sense? And so I'm saying this to you guys that all of us want things to change. We want people to get to know us, but you have to be willing to put down your guard and get to know people. You have to be willing to have these uncomfortable conversations, right? You have to allow yourself to be challenged and be willing to ask people, quote unquote, the dumb questions. Does that make sense? I tell people all the time, when we're all hanging out, I'm like, listen, this gonna sound real racist and real dumb, but are you okay with asking me a question that could sound racist and dumb? And they always laugh and they say, yeah, sure. And then I'll ask a certain question. They go, oh yeah, well, you know, that's not all of us. We do this, this, and this, right? Because I have a view. Listen, when I first was moving to Texas, I was like, I don't speak Spanish. I assumed that everybody in Texas was Hispanic and spoke Spanish. Why? Because my lens said that, right? For whatever reason. And I got here and I'm like, oh, you know what I'm saying? You know, I expect that when I go to whatever country, I don't know, you know what I'm talking about, that it's going to be like this and it's going to be like this because of the lens that I'm seeing the world through. But instead of assuming that every black person is crazy or every white person is crazy or all black people are bad or just because that guy's carrying a gun means he's gonna kill me or just because somebody's carrying a Confederate flag doesn't mean that they're racist. Now that's a hard thing to understand. Hear me. Because through the lens, you see the Confederate flag, you think, run. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200, right? You driving through a town and you need gas and you see a Confederate flag, you like, we gonna pray and lay hands on this car. We gonna make it to the next town. But the truth is, it may not be that they're saying you ain't welcome here. It could be them. I can't remember exactly why the flag was created, but it's not necessarily because people carrying the flag are racist or all hate black people. But that is a lens that when we see that thing, we like, oh, I'm out of here, right? That's like the lens of if you see a bunch of black men on a corner, that they're up to something. That may not necessarily be true. They may be part of some kind of bebop group. You know what I'm saying? But it's because of the lenses that we're walking under, that we're seeing the world through. And so there is racism in America, but I guarantee you that some of that is inside of your own heart. I guarantee you, and I feel the Holy Spirit on that some of that is in your own heart. And it's time for you to do personal introspection. Okay? It's time for you to do personal introspection and say, okay, what lens am I seeing the world through? What lens am I seeing my neighbor through, my boss through, this person through? What lens am I seeing them through? Right? And is that true? Is it the truth? Or is it based upon my experience? And if you're gonna have the ability to affect change, thank you, Stephanie, in any way, you have to open up your heart. I mean, I've had some of the most hardest conversation with people of different races and leaving there so defeated. And I said, well, what happened in this conversation? What happened in this conversation is this person had this is this and this is fact and this is true. And I'm going to convince you of this instead of saying, let me have a conversation and get to know this person and their concerns. And let me check myself and see how am I seeing this? How am I seeing this person or, these people? You know what I mean? Like, I'll be honest. When God told me I was moving to Reading, I said, okay, let me do some little research. I said, oh, okay, so Reading is like 90%, Caucasian. I said, all right, not a problem with that. I'm from Kentucky. And I said, I wonder if there's any kind of situations going on with racism, right? Just in case. Did some research and I said, oh, okay, there's some situations. But I didn't automatically say, Reading is racist. I'm going to have issues when I get to Reading. No. I just prepared myself for, okay, so that may mean I got to find out where I'm going to find hair products for this hair if there's not a whole lot of African Americans in the town. So I started reaching out to people and said, hey, do we have our hair products there? And they're like, oh yeah, you can find them at this place, and this place. Cool. right? Because immediately the lens said, if it's only 2% black, then they're not going to have salons and places to find hair. I'm not going to find it, right? But instead of like just leaving myself, I said, let me reach out and find somebody. And then I said, I need you to hook me up with your hairstylist because I'm going to need to get my ends trimmed periodically. Does that make sense? And so instead of staying in the dark and assuming it's going to be like this, and this, I said, let me reach out and open up for dialogue. Okay. So while I'm here, I want to open up for any conversation, any questions, any thoughts. Listen, if you're hurting and you're pissed off, this is not the conversation for you. I want you to open up your heart. I want you to ask yourself some questions. How am I seeing things? You may be hurt for good reason because somebody has done something. I was hurt that my neighbor called security saying that I potentially was breaking into my apartment. She said potentially, she said I was, right? But instead of me not talking to any of my neighbors over the next 90 days, I said, what happened with them, happened with them. I'm going to act like they ain't happened. If that happens again, I'm calling the police and I'm doing harassment charges, right? But I'm just going to leave it alone, right? Stephanie said, I received so much understanding, knowledge, and awareness by having some real conversations with close friends of all different races and backgrounds. It's amazing what lenses we've been wearing our whole lives. Stephanie, that is a word right there. Like, it's just amazing. You know, like if we don't open ourselves up to the conversation, nothing changes. Nothing changes. You know, I'm talking to God about, you know, I like all men, black, white, Puerto Rican, Asian, all that. And so since the climate in America has gotten a little bit, you know, sensitive, you know, especially with the race thing, I've been saying, okay, God, hypothetically speaking, let's just say that my husband ain't black. Can you go ahead and have a conversation with him about my hair? You know, can you go ahead and like talk to his mama? His mama and them are okay. You know, when I show up. And God has started saying, well, he didn't say hypothetically speaking, but he's just like, Kenya, it's going to be fine. You are open, and the dialogue is going to be just fine. You know, he may be black, he may be white. God's not really telling me, you know, but you know, I've just kind of opened myself up to, okay, because I've always dated all types of people. So I've just been in this moment because, okay, how do I say this? So since I've been in Texas, I've been approached a lot more non-black men have approached me than normal. When I was in Kentucky, I was always approached by everybody. Once I moved to Virginia, it just kind of became black guys, which is fine. But when I got here, I said, oh, they're back, which is cool because I'm cool, you know. But it was kind of like, oh, so we may have to have tough conversations, you know. Does that make sense, y'all? Okay. So listen, I just want to know, does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns, any thoughts? If you think somebody would benefit from this video, please feel free to share this with them. But I really just want to help us as a people. And I don't mean black people. I mean people as a people. That if we are going to live in this world, you know, we need to talk to people. We need to get to know people and where they are and how they think. I remember when I first moved here, one of my neighbors, in her mind, she's like, she is a diehard Republican, is what she said. And I said, well, I'm not either. I'm not Democrat or Republican. I'm Christian. So I don't identify with either one of them. But let's talk. And so she was passionate about President Donald Trump. And I said, okay, I think he's great. I pray for him. And I think she hated Obama. I said, well, he's great. I pray for him. I don't swing either way for either one of them, you know? And she was just going hard about all these different things. And she was like, so what do you think? And I said, okay, I had a split second. Does this person want me to agree with them, or do they want to have actual dialogue with me? And I said, well, are you wanting to have a conversation about this? Are you okay if I agree or if I disagree, or what do you want? And she said, no, I really want to know, what do you think? And so as we started dialogue, and we realized there were some areas where we agreed and there were areas where we disagreed, right? And we didn't scream, we didn't cuss, nobody turned over a table. I just finally said, hey, so we agree on this, and this, but we don't agree on this. And I'm okay with that. You know, I love you. I don't care. I don't care. I'm perfectly okay with it. And guess what? That's still my homie. Like she pushed me to hire her daughter as my intern. And her daughter changed my life, changed my business, you know, because we just had this open dialogue. But what if I would have been closed off to the conversation and just shut her down when I didn't agree with her? We wouldn't still be friends. I mean, it's been the most amazing experience just having conversation with people that I may not agree with, you know. It's so funny. My neighbor, she's amazing. She loves pop culture. She loves Khloe Kardashian. And she knocked on my door one day and was like, hey, did you see what happened with Khloe and Jordan? And I was like, I saw something on Instagram, but I don't really get into all that. What's going on? And she was like, oh, so Jordan like slept with Tristan, and she's going on and on, right? And I'm just like, okay, I'm not quite into that world, but let me jump into this world with her. And I said, let me go take a look at some stuff. I'll get back with you, right? Because I'm just coming into her world, right? Instead of just staying in my little bubble. And so I'm watching this, watching that, reading this and reading that. And I said, I'm coming over, right? And I was like, I don't know. That don't even sound right. It just don't sound right. And so we start having this whole dialogue about marketing and this and all this stuff. And I think that it's a marketing ploy. And I think it's a brilliant marketing ploy in a sense. And she said, I just don't like Jordan. I just don't trust her. And I'm just like, okay, but we disagree on why whatever's going on, but we still cool. I mean, I'm not sitting here watching any of that stuff. You know, I'm not, that's not my thing. You know what I'm saying? But I came into her world because I wanted to get to know her. I want to spend time with her, and I want to talk about things that she enjoys talking about. Does that make sense? And so guess what? When I move to California, if I see something on social media about the Kardashians and I think she would enjoy talking about it, I'm going to screenshot it and I'm going to send it to her. That's her world. And when she gets a dope new recipe or something about cats, guess what she gonna do? She gonna tag me. Why? That's our world, okay? Fred Green said the blood of Jesus saves sinners. It does. Stephanie said, I asked African-American friend this question and she responded, and I'll answer for you too. Honestly, no one has ever asked that question, so I don't even know the answer. As a Caucasian woman, what can I do or change to make a positive impact on the hostility both ways between African Americans and Caucasian community? So, really good question, Stephanie. So I said this earlier today on the podcast that all of us, we're going to have to take risk to try to have conversations with people. And the risk that this person may say and don't want to talk to you, right? You go and find somebody else and you find somebody else, right? Because everybody may not be open to the conversation. If you come to me today and say, is that your real butt? Now I'm being funny, but I get that all the time. And I'm like, yes, that's real. And they're like, you know, I don't let nobody touch it. You know what I'm saying? But they're like, how is that even real? And I'm like, oh, because my grandma, it's just hereditary. And people will say, why would they ask you a stupid question like that? Because so many people have butts that aren't real. And it's not bad or good, but they asked it because they felt comfortable asking me the question, right? You know, it's so funny. I was in a car riding from Redding to San Francisco to come home, the airport. And we're talking about hair. This Indian girl, beautiful hair. I said, your hair is amazing, so gorgeous. And she said, I like your hair too. Is your hair real? Now, she overstepped boundaries, but it was fine. She said, is that all your hair? And she immediately did this. And she said, wow, it is all your hair. Now, the average person would have straight cold cocked her, right? But at that moment, I said, something in her made her think that my hair was a wig, right? Because of whatever. But she was also comfortable with me at that point to put her hands in my hair. And I was just like, yes, it's real, you know. And if we would have had more time and more hours together, at some point I would have said, Girl, you know you put your hands in my hair. You know you don't touch a black woman's hair, right? Without asking, right? I would have then started the education process with her, but I couldn't because I was getting out of the car going home or whatever. So I don't recommend anybody to touch anybody's hair without asking, okay? But the thing about your question, Stephanie, is everybody's not going to be open. Everybody's not going to be willing to have the conversation, to bridge the gap. Everybody's not going to be willing. I've tried to have the conversations with many of different people, and they feel so uncomfortable that they just tap out, right? And I just have to allow them to tap out, right? And what I let them do is just watch my life instead. And at some point, my hope is that we can have those conversations. But I expect that more people may not be as open as some, right? So Stephanie, I feel like one of the best things you can do is to just, is just keep doing what you've been doing. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, if you had a question about black people, what I would say to you is, okay, I'm open. I'm an open book. You can ask me anything. My request would be, please think about what you're going to say before you say it and how you say it. Because even though it may not be an offensive question to you, it could be offensive to me, right? When I'm asking somebody questions about their background and this and whatever, I will say, so I have a question, and this could be a really dumb, stupid, racist question. And I'm giving you that disclaimer just in case. Is that okay for me to ask you a question? And they always laugh. I like to help everything with humor. And they always say, sure. And I'm very cautious when I ask the question, but I do ask the question, right? I don't not ask just because I don't want to offend somebody. I do ask the question, right? So like if I met somebody that came, what kind of question would I probably ask somebody? Here we go. Sounds kind of dumb. One of the questions I would probably ask one of my Caucasian friends, because my experience has been that when my Caucasian friends make food, that the seasoning doesn't measure up to what I would normally use in seasoning. It doesn't mean that their food is bad. It just means that I'm used to a level of seasoning based upon how I cook and how I was raised. So a dumb question I may ask to one of my Caucasian friends is, what are your thoughts? What did you learn about seasonings when you were growing up, right? That person may say, well, too much salt causes this, and too much this causes this, and too much this causes this, and this in your body. So my mama taught me that we don't do this, and this. Or, oh, my mama always just put a pinch of salt, right? And I'm go, oh, so, and then I would laugh it up and say, oh, y'all don't just like bland food? Right? But I would wait until we were at that point where I could say something like that, and one of my friends may say, well, my stuff is seasoned real good. Taste this. And then I realized, oh, so everybody doesn't necessarily season their food according to my experience, right? Does that make sense? Like, I remember somebody asked me, do all black people really like fried chicken, really like watermelon? And to some people, that is a racist, offensive question. But to that person, that is a real question, because that all they know is that A, B, and C. Does that make sense? And it's like, people will say, how do you not know that all of us don't eat fried chicken and watermelon? Well, they don't know because they don't live with you, right? Because they live in their household, right? I met somebody and she was like, why does everybody think that I can sing? Or why do they automatically assume that all black people can dance and sing? Well, because you see a lot of us on TV dancing and singing, and because back in the day, we were the entertainment, when we were slaves, we were some of the entertainment, right? And so people would have that question, how are you black and you can't dance? Really? Like, how? Right? People would be confused because their lens has shown them All Black people can sing and dance and yada, 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 right? So, Stephanie, I think that it really is a matter of taking risks. Now, if you guys got questions, feel free to ask. But it's taking risks. And it could be, very risky. You know what I'm saying? But it's the willingness to just take that risk over and over and over again and being mindful. You know what I'm saying? Like if you are finding someone and you guys are talking and you feel like you're at this point where you can say, listen, I've got a question and I don't want to offend you. I don't want to be offensive. I'm not racist, but I just felt like I can ask you. Like, I'll give you a funny example. Amber Knapp, so funny. Amber is white. And Amber and I text or Facebook from time to time. And I always say child, just CHILE, like as in girl or whatever. And I always say that in messages to her all the time. Well, Amber kept getting those messages and had no idea what I was saying. She thought I was saying Chile, like the country. Finally, she had one of her Black co-workers that she felt comfortable with. And she said, can you do me a favor? Read this sentence to me. And her friend read the sentence and said, child. And at that moment, Amber realized what I was saying. And I wasn't saying Chile every time we were having a conversation, right? But Amber and that person had gotten to a place in their relationship where she could ask her that and it not be offensive. You know what I'm saying? And so it just takes time and it takes risk. It takes people being willing, but everybody isn't willing. And so tonight I'm here to encourage you guys to be more willing. We can't change the whole world, right? But I have had an effect on my apartment community. Right? I've been here for 2 years. I have had a dramatic effect on my apartment community. Why? Because I chose to allow them inside of my world. I decided to go inside of their world, meet them where they are, and we've created a bond. And so I have the intent that when I get to California and wherever I live, that over a period of time, I am going to have an effect on my community, right? There may be people that understand me, misunderstand me, or whatever. At some point, we're going to begin to get to know each other and have dialogue and have some kind of effect. I guarantee you I'll have an effect on them and they're going to have an effect on me. And I'm just allowing myself to be open, for the potential of that, right? And I'm willing to take risk to meet people and to connect with people that aren't like me. You know what I'm saying? Like when I rode from the Reading to the airport, the people in the front of the car were from the Netherlands. The girl in the back was from India and the other girl was from Switzerland, right? That's a whole different dynamic of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Of asking questions. They had an opinion of what they thought I was going to be like and all this stuff. And, if I see them again, we'll have a chance to kind of talk and get to know each other a little more. So y'all see what I'm saying? So that's my topic for tonight. I feel like that the Jesus thing is to be open. You know what I'm saying? The Jesus thing is to be open. How Jesus spent time with the tax collectors and all that type of stuff. Instead of him saying, come to my meetings, get saved, get healed, yada, 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 he went to them. Now, I'm not saying that you got to go to a place that is unsafe for you or that is hostile. I'm saying that you open yourself up to the potential of dialogue, the potential of uncomfortable dialogue. And you have to be willing to hear someone say something that is stupid, that sounds racist, and not call them a racist, right? Because they may not know that the words that they're using are offensive to you, right? We all know that calling somebody a cracker is wrong. Calling somebody a terrorist, calling somebody a spick, calling somebody a nigger is wrong. So you ain't going to use none of those words or somebody is going to straight DDT you, okay? So you just stray away from that, right? But you do come in sensitive. Okay, I don't know what words to use. I don't know what is appropriate. Can you help me? Can you give me grace in this conversation? Because I want to have this with you and I don't want to offend you. But I need you to put a filter on, like, hear my heart when I'm sharing, right? That's like when I share with people about pray for President Trump, whether you are Democrat or Republican, you like him or not, the Bible says to pray for those in authority. People were like, what you mean? I'm like, look, listen, you are filtering this through your lens of hate for the president, disgust or whatever, but I'm sharing this with you from a biblical standpoint. I'm not saying I agree with everything he does, everything he says, his lifestyle, all that. I'm not saying that by any means, or about Obama, the Clintons, Bernie Sanders, whomever else. But what I am saying is that this dude is running our country, and if somebody else come in office, they run in my country. They need prayer because they run in the country I live in. You know what I'm saying? I need God to move with them. I want to live, okay? All right. So my prayer is that you will think. My prayer is that you will leave your comfortable space, your comfort zone, and allow yourself to get into dialogue, get into situations with people and have those uncomfortable conversations where you let someone share, right? And don't get offended, right? You let a white person share their experience. You let an Indian person share, a black person share. You let them share without cutting them off, without whatever, without labeling them. You let them share and you listen with the intent to understand them, not so you can have something to retaliate with, right? That's what I have learned has been the greatest thing. When I let somebody just talk and share their opinion and share their experience, whether I agree with them or not, I'm listening to them to get to know them, not so I can turn them to how I think and how I am, right? Because one of the books I read, it said, a person pressed against their will is of the same opinion still. Meaning, I can't make you do nothing. If that's your opinion, that's your opinion. But what I can do is just have conversations with you, right? What I can do is have conversations with you. I remember one time, me and my grandma were having a conversation, and she was like, Oprah is selfish. Oprah need to give more of her money and help this, and this. And I had some thoughts, and I said, let me have an open dialogue with my grandma. And I said, well, Grandma, why do you think that Oprah should give her money? And she went on and she shared why. And I said, well, Grandma, do you know Oprah gives a lot of money to a lot of people, and that Oprah has worked really, really hard for her money? Don't you think Oprah deserves to do whatever she wants to do with her money because she's worked so hard for her money? And my grandma was like, she got quiet. And I said, yeah, she does a lot for people. She may not be talking about it on TV and all that, but she does a lot for people, Grandma. And I really feel like that if Oprah's going to go and make all this money, that she should be able to do what she wants to do with her money. Even if she gives none of it away, she's worked really, really, really hard. And she should be able to do what she wants to do with her money. Just like you, Grandma, you should be able to do exactly what you want to do with your money, and nobody telling you what to do with your money. Now, whether my grandma agrees with me or not, I heard her, I asked questions, and we had a great conversation. And it didn't end with me disowning my grandma. You know what I'm saying? Uh-oh, sorry. My phone thing fell. Hold on, sorry. I'm charging my phone while I'm on this broadcast, okay? All right, so that's it. I just want to share that with you guys tonight. I hope that this has helped at least one of y'all. Stephanie, I know me and you is here tonight. And I think someone else had said something. Who was it? Somebody else had said, let me give you props. Oh, Gail Connor said something. All right. So if you guys think somebody would benefit from this, please feel free to share. Make sure you guys like our Facebook page. We are on day 9 of 30 Days of Miracles, where we're watching God move in some of the most miraculous ways. I'm going to post the link for the video below. If you guys want to join us, we go until March the 30th, and God is moving in some of the most miraculous ways for so many of us. And we do this at least twice a year. inside of our private Facebook group called 30 Days of Miracles. So I love you guys. I will see you all next Sunday at 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Bye, guys.